Davis was painted as the rebel daughter of President Ronald Reagan when she posed nude for Playboy at 42. Not for nothing, but I posed nude for an artist back when I was in college. Perhaps you've heard of him, Leonardo da Vinci. Anyway, Patti Davis is now 58, and she's taking it all off again, this time for More magazine, with a body she says is better than ever. And she's with me now. Welcome to the show, Patti. How are you, Patti?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You know, Patti, I'm going to wait till I'm 89 and pose naked then, so I'll really scare everybody. That's the time I'm going to do it.
Well, oh, well, that's probably the cutoff point for all of us, I think.
I think so. But why did you do it this time?
Well, I was in a kickboxing workout, and my instructor, who's known me for a really long time, like 20 years, said that I was in many ways in better shape now than I was 16 years ago when I posed for Playboy. And I started thinking about it, and I started thinking about how important training and working out is for me, and the fact that, you know, I would like to read something and see something of someone in their 50s showing me that aging doesn't have to be as gloomy as sometimes we hear that it's going to be. You know, that things don't have to just sort of sag and bag and fall apart.
I see. Well,
if you put in the work, you know, and I thought, you know, it seemed like a really good idea, and it seemed like a perfect idea for More magazine, which I've written for before. It was sort of tailor-made for them, and also it gave me an opportunity to finally write about why I did Playboy at 42, because no one had ever given me a chance. They just said, "Oh, she's being rebellious again," and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Well, I remember that period. Yeah, go ahead, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say, so it was two things. It was, you know, it was sort of, this is a good thing to put out there. Mm-hmm. You know, this is a good thing for all of us to put out there, because if I can do it, anybody can do it. I don't have anything that anybody else doesn't have. I don't have tiger blood and Donna's DNA or whatever, Aphrodite DNA. You know, I'm just the same as everybody else. So if I can be in shape at this age, particularly coming from the history that I came from, which included, you know, some serious drug addiction, then anybody can do it.
Well, I'm a lazy slug, Patti. I don't think I could do it, frankly. I don't have.
Then you have to not be a lazy slug.
I mean, I'll do a minimum of it. I don't have any motivation to appear naked in any form at all. I have no interest in being naked anywhere, not even in my own bed.
Well, so you sleep fully dressed?
No, yes, I wear a gown, a tiara sometimes if I'm really in the mood.
Right, just take your shoes off and.
I remember when you posed when you were 42 in Playboy that your parents were appalled at that. How did you deal with them at the time?
I never had a conversation with my father about it at all.
But Mommy,
you know,
how about Mommy?
Well, I'm not sure she was as appalled as people said that she was, because I'll tell you something funny. After I did Playboy, Nancy Sinatra did it, and she was actually older than me. I think she was close to 50 when she did it. And I, having done Playboy and having gotten to know people there, found out that she looked really good, and I told my mother that Nancy looked really good, and my mother got on the phone with Nancy Sinatra's mother and was telling her that her daughter looked really good in Playboy.
I know, but her father wasn't the president of the United States, Patti. He was, you know, a crooner. It's a little, I mean, the sort of, you know, the image that you put out there as a rebellious daughter of a president, a conservative president, you know, you kind of knew what you were doing. You knew that would cause a little.
Well, I knew that it would be interpreted that way. But as I've written in this, first of all, my father was out of office and had been for a number of years,
right?
Like 4 years. But also, as I've written about in this article, for me, it was something I had always. I'd seen this bodybuilder Lisa Lyon, pictures of her nude pictures of her, black and whites, in the gym when I first started training, and I thought at that time if I'm ever proud enough of my body, if I ever can build up my musculature and look this strong and confident as she does, I would love to do some kind of nude layout. And, you know, when the opportunity presented itself, I described it in this article as it was like my victory lap. After the Playboy wouldn't have wanted me in my 20s, and you know, I was told by one doctor in the midst of my drug addiction that I probably wasn't even going to live to the age of 30. So for me to build up my body and be proud enough of it to be able to do that meant a lot more than the controversy that ensued.
You talk about your drug addiction, and you recently said, I'm proof that it's not that easy to die because I was working on it. What kind of drugs? What kind of drugs were we talking about here?
When I was 15, I started taking speed pills. Because when I went away to high school, I gained a lot of weight, and people were calling me fat, and, well, I was fat. That's why they were calling me that. And someone turned me on to diet pills, and I lost weight, but I also fell in love with them. I just fell in love with speed, and I would get street drugs. I would get, you know, other kinds of amphetamines, and then secondarily later on, that sort of morphed into a cocaine addiction.
When you got
I had like, what?
No, I was going to say because you probably had more money at that point, you know, because you from speed to cocaine is a financial jump, isn't it? Not that I would know this. I don't even like to take an aspirin. I mean, I really hate drugs, and even marijuana just makes me eat. So what is there, you know, what is, I don't get drugs. I don't understand them because
I don't do anything. Yeah. I don't do anything now, but you know, you know, if you are an addict, most people are addicted to one particular thing. I think it's a matter of direction, kind of, you know, mine was speed and stay up and not sleep.
Okay, let me take a break.
Give myself a heart attack.
I know, you could give yourself a heart attack. Let me take a break here.
I was working on it.
I know, I hear you. We'll have more with Patti Davis in a minute.
Tomorrow.
I'm back with Ronald Reagan's daughter, Patti Davis. Patti, I noticed, I meant to ask you this last time when I saw you. Why do you use Patti Davis and not Patti Reagan?
When I was in my when I was in my teens, and my father was governor of California, I had that sort of identity crisis thing that lots of children of famous people have, and I just wanted something that felt like mine, a name that felt like mine, but I didn't want to anger my parents, so I took my mother's maiden name. Really, you know, my parents weren't upset about it, but you know, if you're always looked at as someone else's child and not ever for yourself, it becomes an important thing.
I see. You know, Republicans out there now, Sarah Palin and Michelle Bachmann, amongst others, they have canonized your father. You know, Saint Ronnie Reagan. You hear it all the time. And what do you make of these people who say these things and who actually think that they're like your father?
Sarah Palin is nothing like my father. And actually, neither is Michelle Bachmann, but particularly Sarah Palin is not. And,
how is she different?
I don't think. Well, let's see. My father didn't take a gun at every four-legged creature who came near him, and I think that alone would elicit his disapproval of her slaughter of wolves and her pretty much slaughter of everything in four legs who comes by her.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Republican Party has basically gotten away from your father, I think. They're a completely different party from when he was here.
Well, I think, you know, primarily the meanness and the backbiting is so antithetical to what he believed. And I think that is part of the love for him that crosses political lines, is that he had a graciousness and he had a respect for other people, whether you agreed with him or not. That is very difficult to find these days. I mean, everybody is so mean.
Anyway, I thank you for this interview. It's lovely to see you. And
thank you.
Okay, and you can see Patti in the June issue of More magazine. Okay, one more thing before we go.